Hello everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I thought I would do is compare some German and Swiss watches. I have on a Swiss watch. It's by Daniel Roth Master Chronograph. It's basically, it's got the chronograph in it as an El Primero 400. But I have watches I'm just crazy about, both Swiss and German. So you don't find a lot of. I just like watches one way or the other. But I thought, well, we'll take a look at some and maybe see if there's some kind of trendy to them. The first one I came up with was sort of a business dress watch, executive perhaps. And I came up with the Vacheron Constantin Patrimony and the Langenheim Frederick III. Both of them are in gold, and when you flip them over, one of the things that Langenheim has, they have these beautiful movements. They're hand done. The whole watch is really gorgeous. On the back of the Vacheron Constantin is a very reliable movement, the 4400. It came out about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, something around then. And I have the same movement in one of my watches, in a Vacheron Constantin Historique American 1921. And it just is the super reliable, takes forever to wind. But once it's wound, it's good for a couple of days. On the other hand, Langenheim Frederick III, I have the Frederick II. And really the basic difference is, I think the Frederick II is a little less formal. It has Arabic numbers instead of Roman numbers, and the hands are, pretty standard, kind of nothing fancy like the hands there. But both of these, I see them as the kind of thing that sort of like an executive suite type of watch. Neither one of them is really noisy in the sense that we look at me kind of watch. Vacheron Constantin is known for its understated elegance, and Langenheim is, I don't know, they're known for their beautiful movements more than anything else. Just incredible movements in that. So anyway, you have the German and the Swiss, and there's similarities and differences here. And of course, I like them both. I like all watches. Now, this next group, I took two very different kinds of sports watches. I say they're different in that one of them, the Sin, has an ETA movement, and the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra has a movement made by Omega, but Omega is owned by Swatch, and they also own ETA, so the movements made for Sin, in a way, are by the same owning company for Omega, but the movements are very different kinds of things, but so are the prices. But still, these, I thought, a couple different types of sports. Now, there's all kinds of sports watches, but these seem to be fairly just sort of standard. The thing I like about the Aquaterra is that it's a chronometer, which is, I think the Omega they do their chronometer testing by something called Meta, I believe. And anyway, it's just a good, solid watch. I really like that watch a lot. The Sin, on the other hand, is another one I like. I like it has a rotating the bezel on it. And these are very well-made movements, and I mean very well-made watches too. Well, the movements are all right too. And this is more like a toward a diver kind of thing. And of course, the Seamasters diver-ish, I'll put it that way. Neither one of them seem to be sort of set for diving unless I take I wouldn't go into the water with a metal band on, but that's me. Some divers may do that. But anyway, there's sort of different kinds of views of sports watches. And like I said, I like them both. I think the Sin is a little more sporty, and the Seamaster a little more dressy. Still, though, you got two different interpretations of a sort of a luxury, well, not quite a luxury sport, but nice sports watches. Now here, you get to a luxury Moonphase, and whew, the two things happen. One, the price goes through the ceiling, especially just about any Lange und Söhne. This Lange 1 Moonphase is, really a big old date, and you can see that from space. And the LUC Lunar Big Date, and both of them you can take at a glance. You can see the date, and also the Moonphase. The rest of it is pretty much out of the way. You have a power reserve indicator on the Lange over on at around 3 o'clock, between about 2 and 4 o'clock. There's a power reserve indicator, and then you have your instead of using the main dial for your time, it uses a large subdial. The Chopard uses the whole dial. And both of them use Roman numerals, so they're more of a formalish kind of thing. The price difference, though, they're both very expensive. I think the Lange is something like 40,000, and the Chopard is 20-something thousand. Both have good movements, both interesting watches, I think. Different. In some respect, I would say so. Just in terms of the surface, they do look different, but I don't see a great deal of difference otherwise. Now, and someone's going to say, "Wait a minute, I'm going to tell you about these differences." That's okay. Now, the next two are travel watches, and I've mentioned this, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Control Geographic before, and it's got a lot of stuff on there. It has a little hand date, and then down at between about 7 and 4 o'clock, or 7 and 5 o'clock, there's a little window down there that you can set for different cities or areas, and then you can use that. Power reserve indicator over about 10 o'clock, and then a hand date, I mentioned the seconds down below on the, not below, but the center seconds, and then a second time zone. Notice near the second time zone at the subdial at 6 o'clock, to the left of that, at 9 o'clock of the subdial, is a little day-night indicator. And so that's always helpful, believe me. I love day-night indicators, so you can tell whether you're calling your friend at 3 o'clock in the morning or not. The Glashütte Original Senator Cosmolite, this one is very, very different in terms of a travel watch. You have your big date, and then you have a second time up at 12 o'clock and a subdial. And then you have your seconds down at 6 o'clock. But over around 7 or 8 o'clock, you can have your couple different times in it, and those look like they're using something like airport indicators for identifying it. They have the day-night indicator right off of 9 o'clock. More stylistic than the one that's on the Jaeger-LeCoultre, but they both are very functional. Instead of having a hand date, they have a good size date window down around right at 4 o'clock, or right off of 4 o'clock. A very interesting watch. Both of them, I think, are fairly busy watches with all of the subdials and the gizmos and so forth, extra windows. But I like them both, and I think they're both very interesting. And I think there's something that would seem to be very functional in the sense that if you're traveling and you don't want to travel with a gold watch or to get mugged, these two, either one of them, I think would be good. Now, this next two here, these are the dress rectangle ice. That's what I call them. The Swiss have hardly any left. They used to have more of them. I think that Gerard Perregaux may have some, and some other ones from the Swiss. Germans, two very good ones. This one, the Cornerstone from Moritz Grossmann, is a very nice one. And then there's another one, the Georg from Langenheim, that is very nice watch. And now, the major rectangular watch that are left, the Patek Philippe used to have them with their gondolas, and I think that Vacheron and Constantin still has some. With certain of the Historiques, I think, are squarish. But in terms of having a sort of like, beside the Reverso by Jacques Lecoutre, one of the few that I could find was the Cartier tank. And relatively speaking, for a gold watch, relatively well priced. So Moritz Grossmann, Cornerstone, like a lot of Moritz Grossmann, they're fairly expensive watches. I mean, they like to climb north of 20,000. But anyway, in looking at these, I don't see too much. I say, oh yeah, that looks just like a German watch, and that looks just like a Swiss watch. I don't see a lot of that here. There are some differences, obviously, but not a great deal. And I think that, but looking at them, there's, at least in the ones I chose, the German ones were just a little more expensive. But this is something I think that if you have Swiss watches and you're interested in a German watch, these are some you might look at, or vice versa. If you're really into German watches, you might want to take a look at some Swiss watches. Okay, well, listen, as always, I'd like to hear your opinion. This is an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And so let's hear from you. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection.